Edgar. Some players say that he is no skill, but is it really true? Edgar isn't a top tier brawler no more like he was in his release, so is he still no skill? So in today's video I'm going to explain why he is not, and most importantly, how to play him like a pro. So let's get right into it. I think that we all remember how Edgar was in his release. He was just one of the best brawlers at the time and could obliterate any other brawler that stood in his way. But just a small reminder, this was before he got 7 nerfs. So players are stuck in the early December when he was released and when he was, I could say that he was no skill at that time. But right now, just because he got so many nerfs, he's not a top tier brawler anymore. I mean, he can easily get countered by almost all of the brawlers. But besides that, Edgar is known for his high mobility and healing capabilities, making him super dangerous in the right hands. But Edgar has weaknesses as well, and understanding them is key. He's an assassin, which means that he needs to be up close and personal with his enemies. He's got low health for a melee brawler, and if he doesn't plan his jumps right, he can get wiped out in seconds. When you play Edgar, it's like balancing between strengths to deal maximum damage and avoiding scenarios where he'll get outplayed. And that takes real skill in my opinion. Now, Edgar's super is what really sets him apart from the other brawlers, but it's also his biggest risk. A skilled Edgar player knows what timing is everything. You need to understand enemy positions, your health, and your escape route before you jump in. A common mistake? Jumping without a plan. You need to think ahead, like when to land in a crowd or back off. Knowing when and where to jump makes the difference between dominating the battlefield or feeding your opponents. So it's about timing and calculation, not just diving in head first. Now, Edgar's healing abilities makes him regenerate health as he deals damage, but here's where real skill comes in: dodging and weaving. To make the most of Edgar's abilities, you need to dodge shots effectively while staying close enough to hit back. Experienced players use walls and cover to avoid getting hit while slowly chipping away at opponents. And if you're facing multiple enemies at once, maneuvering becomes, of course, crucial. You have to keep moving or adjusting your aim, but at the same time, prioritize targets. It's a dance that takes time to master. A small example here: if you see a Frank and a dynamite or another thrower, of course that you are going to jump on the dynamite, being the low health brawler and a not tanky one. Now, one of the trickiest parts of mastering Edgar is knowing when to retreat, something that randoms clearly do not know what to do. Edgar doesn't have the tankiness to stay in long fights, so knowing when to pull back is key. Skilled players keep their super ready as an escape tool, especially when facing ranged brawlers who can take him down quickly or in open range maps. If you're low health, don't be afraid to use your jump to get away instead of engaging recklessly. To really excel, you need to read your opponents. Each enemy brawler requires a different approach. Facing a tank, you'll want to keep your distance and poke when possible. Facing sharpshooters, you need to be unpredictable and close the gap quickly. Good Edgar players adapt to each opponent, predicting their moves and responding fast. This awareness takes practice and knowledge of the game. Now, let's just talk a little bit about brawler categories. But what do I mean by this? So practically we have assassins, tanks, sharpshooters, and support brawlers. So let's just talk a little bit about which categories are best for Edgar to counter. First up, we have assassins. Edgar himself is an assassin, so when he's facing others in his category, it's usually a high-risk matchup. For example, Mortis can be really tricky. Mortis is fast and can dodge his attacks, and it really makes him hard to pin down. It's best to avoid fighting him directly unless you have more health and a solid plan. Now, Crow is one of Edgar's best matchups in the assassin category. Crow's poison can be a pain in the butt, to be honest, but he has low health and lacks the burst damage to take down Edgar quickly, especially if you're using lifesteal effectively. In general, Edgar does well against assassins with lower health, but be careful. They're quick and can turn the tables if you're not careful, just like Lily or Kit. Next up, we have tanks. Tanks are often the most dangerous matchups for Edgar because of their high health and strong damage output up close. Bull and El Primo can shred through Edgar with ease, just like a knife through butter. They can outlast his life-stealing abilities and just run away with more damage. If you see these two, avoid getting too close unless they're already on low health. Rosa can be also a difficult opponent, especially with her super active. Overall, just avoid tanks unless you catch them on low health or if they don't have any more ammo left. Their high HP and strong close range attacks can overpower Edgar, making them tough targets. Now let's move on to Sharpshooters, a category where Edgar can really shine. These brawlers are usually squishy and rely on distance to stay safe, so they're prime targets for Edgar's jump and strike approach. Piper and Brock, for example, are ideal targets. They have low health and can't do much damage up close, making them easy pickings if you get close enough. Just watch out for Brock's gadget that can deal burst damage if he's in a tight spot, and Piper's gadget that can throw back Edgar after he uses his ultimate. Now, Sharpshooters are generally among the best targets for Edgar. Just make sure you approach them from cover or jump in when they're focused elsewhere. Now we're going into the support category. Support brawlers are often mid-health characters who are focused on healing or boosting their team, and Edgar can disrupt their play if timed well. For example, Poco is a great target. Just be cautious if he's with teammates who can back him up, as his healing can extend their durability. Now, Byron is another good target due to his low health. Some may say that he is a sharpshooter, but in the real eyes, he is a support brawler. Now, Edgar can take him out quickly, preventing Byron from healing his team, and that's pretty much it. Pam, on the other hand, is a tougher matchup. She has high health for a support character and deals consistent damage up close, which can overpower Edgar in most occasions. Overall, support brawlers can be a good target for Edgar, but timing and positioning are key. Make sure you can eliminate them quickly before they get the chance to heal or be packed up by teammates. Now, one of Edgar's best matchups comes from the thrower category. Throwers like Dynamite and Barley or Tick excel at long-range attacks but are highly vulnerable up close. Dynamite and Barley have low health and are easy for Edgar to take out if you can jump in close, but just avoid their attacks while you're closing the gap. But Sprout can be a bit trickier with his walls and bouncing shots, but if you time it right, Edgar can still close the gap and eliminate Sprout quickly. Now, throwers are some of Edgar's safest and most effective targets. Just make sure to dodge their initial attacks to avoid unnecessary damage, and if you want to get more matchups with throwers, pick maps in which throwers can usually dominate. For example, I'm gonna put here a couple of maps in which you can pick. Most of these are going to be knockout maps because they are one of the best maps for throwers and for Edgar as well. So there you have it. Edgar's effectiveness varies directly depending on who he is up against, so picking the right targets is essential to dominate in the battlefield. At the end of the day, I really hope that this guide helped you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment on which brawler you would like to see next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.